Welcome back. Episode 5.
Welcome to Malaysia, a Muslim-majority nation of 23 million people, shaped by a unique history, its friendly citizens, and its delicious food.
But Malaysia is also a very special place for me and Josh personally.
Back in 2013, Josh and I visited Malaysia for the first time on a family vacation. 2 years later, our parents moved to the nation's capital, Kuala Lumpur.
And since then, we've visited the country more than a dozen times between us.
We've celebrated Christmas here on more than one occasion. We've stayed with the Iban people in Malaysian Borneo. And we've climbed to the country's highest peak.
And through all of these adventures, one man was constant.
Our dad. And in keeping with this tradition, he'll be joining us once again as we make our way up the Malaysian coast towards Thailand and discover what the island state of Penang has in store for us.
So Josh and I had actually celebrated Christmas Day 4 days earlier on the cargo ship from Perth to Singapore, as you might recall.
So before Josh, Dad and myself made our way up to Penang, we decided to celebrate the holiday season with a belated Christmas dinner.
And with that out of the way, it was time to hit the road.
Right, so today is the 30th of December, and me, my dad, and Josh, we're all heading up to Penang.
Penang Island is located off Malaysia's west coastline, 4 hours north of Kuala Lumpur.
With a population of 1.8 million people and an area of just over 1,000 kilometers squared, Penang has one of the highest population densities in the entire country, and it's home to Malaysia's second largest city, Georgetown.
There is this massive bridge that connects Penang Island to the Malaysian mainland. But beyond being an architectural wonder and a super impressive piece of Malaysian architecture, this bridge actually tells us something about Penang's history, and it tells us even more about its future.
Penang has a rich and interesting history, the results of which you can see all around you as you walk around Georgetown. But unlike a lot of states in Malaysia that were influenced either by the Chinese or by Islam, Penang was specifically influenced by British colonialism.
Penang Island was purchased from the Sultanate of Kendal by the British East India Company in 1786. It then officially became a British colony in 1826. Fast forward 120 years and Malaysia finds itself in the heart of the Pacific Theatre.
Yamashita invaded Malaya from Thailand, and by landing on the northeast coast,
Malaysia finally achieved independence on August 31st, 1957. And since then, it's gone on to become one of the fastest developing countries in Southeast Asia.
And although Penang's history lies in British colonialism, its future lies in the east.
China has always played a huge role in Malaysia. Around 24.6 or 6.4 million of Malaysia's 28 million citizens are ethnically Chinese. And in Penang, that number increases to 56% of the population.
This bridge, which is the largest in Southeast Asia, was built using Chinese money and was built by a Chinese company.
And all across Malaysia, you'll see similar projects. In 2019, $5 billion of Chinese money will be spent on infrastructure projects all over Malaysia, including here in Penang.
This bridge represents more than just a gateway into Penang Island. It gives you a glimpse at the future of the country as a whole. And as you finally get into Georgetown and you start to look around, you're also provided with a glimpse into its past as well. And this this is one of the things that makes Malaysia such a fascinating place. It's a place where the old is constantly clashing with the new, in its architecture and in its food.
And if you're looking for food on Penang Island, this is the place to be.
We're on New Lane, which is a hawker street. It's basically a whole lot of little stores up and down the street where people generally cook one kind of food. So you're really good at cooking one kind of food, then sell that one kind of food.
The country's population breaks down a little something like this. 10% ethnically Indian, 50% Malay, and 25% Chinese. Because of this, Malaysian cuisine has taken on its own unique identity, taking techniques and flavours from all over the world.
And if you want to experience this culinary diversity, there's really only one place to do it, and that's at a hawker centre.
Lorong Baru, as it's traditionally known, or New Lane as it's known to everybody else, is located in the western part of Georgetown, just down the road from Komtar.
So if you're in Georgetown, just look up and look for the tallest building and start walking towards that. And before you know it, you'll be chowing down on foods like this.
All right, so we've made it to Penang. We're just heading off to the jetty at the moment because we're going to be leaving here in 4 days to get to Langkawi. What are we doing at the jetty?
We're going to book our boat tickets to Langkawi to make sure that we have our tickets to get to Langkawi. And we don't get caught out without them on the day. That'd be bad.
There we go. So in the meantime, we're just kind of wandering around the streets, just getting to know the town.
Okay, so there is only one island in Thailand that you can enter the country in if you're coming from Malaysia by boat. And that's the southernmost island of Thailand called Koh Lipe.
So we just got our tickets on the boat to Langkawi and then onwards to Thailand. The lady that helped us was very helpful. So all ready to go. Going to try to make that whole transfer in a day. It only cost us like $60, which isn't too bad. It's cheaper than a flight. And so all set now. We just got 3 days in Penang. Let's get some beers and eat some food.
When in Penang, Malaysia's multi-ethnic history becomes more and more apparent as you go around and visit some of the main attractions on the island.
The Chinese fishing village to the south of the city houses some of the oldest jetties on the entire island, and has been there since the early 18th century. If you're looking for somewhere to catch a couple of sundowners, then we found Tan Jetty Thai food to be a pretty reasonable place to get a few beers with few people.
Unlike the rest of the area, which can get pretty touristy around sunset, you're better off going there. Anyway, moving on.
A 30-minute drive outside the city will bring you to yet another testament to the majority Chinese population that lives here. A hilltop Chinese Buddhist temple that overlooks the entire city. It's free to enter the grounds, but if you want to make it up to the pagoda that houses the 30-meter tall bronze statue of Guan Yin, the goddess of mercy, it's going to cost you 2 ringgit to get up and 2 ringgit to get back down on the tram tracks, which, in my opinion, is well worth it.
And so, before you knew it, our time in Penang was almost up. It was New Year's Eve, and the next day we were heading off to Langkawi, and then we were moving from Langkawi onto Thailand. But being New Year's Eve, we had to find somewhere to drink, obviously.
There are plenty of places to get a drink in Penang, such as Farquhar Bar, which is not only really fun to say, but also 120 years old. Or the aforementioned Komtar, which is the tallest building on the island and boasts views of the whole city.
But by far our favourite place to drink on the entire island was Antara Bangsar Enterprise.
Okay, so Antara Bangsar may not technically be a bar, it's more like a liquor wholesaler that puts out plastic chairs in the front of the store. But it's still one of the most popular drinking destinations on the island due to its huge selection and rock-bottom prices.
And I honestly couldn't think of a better way to herald in the new year than with my dad on one side and my brother on the other in this tiny little alleyway in Penang.
Malaysia is a land of contrast and fusion. It's a country whose architecture, food, and people have been influenced by its past and by its future. It's those influences that make it unique, and it's that uniqueness that keeps me and Josh coming back. And that's why I can say with almost complete certainty that this will not be the last time me and Josh visit Malaysia. But for now, we had a date with Thailand. That's next time on Taking the Long Cut.